lot in that development. Our Toastmaster tonight is Lawrence Crompton.
Good evening, and welcome, Zoe. We're always glad to have guests. Have you ever been to a Toastmasters meeting before?
Yes.
Okay, so you have some idea what's going on. Well, I am the Toastmaster, which is basically the MC for the entire meeting. I will make sure that everything goes along in order and try to make sure that we get through our meeting on time. Now, we normally would, when we introduce someone, when we have a new member, we will explain a little bit about what they're doing. So our grammarian for this evening is going to be Heather, if you would like to explain what we're doing and explain our word for the day.
Yes. As grammarian, I keep track of filler words such as and ah, and I also keep track of use of the word of the day, which is eschew. Does anyone have a definition for that? Eschew, meaning, is it eschew? I'm going to say it's eschew because, yeah, that's what I remember. Okay. It means shun, abstain from, or avoid doing something.
Could you repeat that again and then use it in a sentence?
Shun, abstain from, or avoid doing something.
Job loves God and eschews evil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eschews.
Eschews evil.
All right, eschews evil.
Sorry, guys. I picked this word.
Okay. All right. And also, we are going to have a generally, all of our evaluations. Our general evaluator for this evening is going to be Ewing. And could you explain a little bit what the general evaluator does and what the evaluators, the other evaluators will do?
Simply, it's a general evaluating or evaluating the whole meeting.
Okay. And then the evaluators will evaluate the speeches. And then we have Cody as our table topics master, if you could explain that.
Yes, tonight I will be the table topics master. In this role, I will come up with different topics, and I think I'm going to choose people at random, so you have no choice about calling you. Of course, yes, you can volunteer if you'd like to do it, and you get up there and do an impromptu 1 to 2 minute speech on the topic.
Yeah, table topics are my favorite part. I love table topics. Okay, so let's get right into our educational program for this evening. This evening, one of our newer members and also the newly elected, inaugurated president of our club is going to give his 9th speech from the Competent Communicator Manual, which is a Persuade with Power. And he's going to try to persuade us not to waste our vote. So, Thomas Jester is, why are you wasting your voice? Are you a vote?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'd like to talk to you tonight about something that I have heard most of my life. I don't ascribe to political parties. And so for a lot of my life, I have been told when I'm talking politics and who or what I'm voting for, that I'm wasting my vote. I'm going to waste my vote. I think we've all, at some point in our life, heard that statement based on how we see the world and are about to vote for either a policy or a person who will fill an office in the United States. The reason I get most of when I ask, why do you think I'm wasting my vote? Well, they obviously can't win, is what everyone starts with. And I thought about that for a while. And I said, well, one, obviously they can't win if no one votes for them. Yeah, I get you. That makes sense. But then I thought about some states that I grew up in. I grew up in North Carolina, then went to Georgia, and now I'm here in Alabama. And if you know something about the voting color, as we'll call it, of those three states, North Carolina is called a purple state. It can go either way in any election. Georgia is red, but just barely. And then Alabama, which if it became more red, it would make the Crimson Tide jealous. And so, I thought, how can I eschew myself from wasting my vote in a state like Alabama? Well, then the only thing I could do is vote for the Republican Party. Because obviously in Alabama, no matter what party it is, if it's the Republican Party, it will win. And if it's the Democrat Party, it's going to lose. And so your vote's going to be wasted because no one else can possibly win. And on that thought process, I said, well then, that doesn't make sense as a good argument for why you should vote for someone. Just because they can win. And so I went and did some research on the policies that are being passed in the three states that I have spent my life. In Alabama, a lot of very, very conservative things are passed. Whether I agree with them or not is immaterial. Whether you agree with them or not is immaterial. But part of the reason why they get passed is because the men who are voting on them, whether at the state level or the national level, believe that there is so one type of person in Alabama that they can vote for that and they're going to get reelected. In Georgia, they're a little bit more to the center. And in North Carolina, the beautiful purple state I grew up in, they're about as in the middle as you can possibly be. Because they know that every vote matters. And so they can't be too far red or too far blue. Because people vote for both parties equally. And so every time it matters, they have to worry about it. So when we vote for that single one thing that we think can win, or one of the two we think can win, we're showing that we're more homogeneous than we actually are. I'm sure that Cody and I, who studied very similar things in school, and have generally similar aspirations in life, probably don't see the world the exact same way and would vote differently if we were congressmen up in Washington, D.C. If we didn't have to ascribe to any voters below us, just purely voting on our conscience. So what I'm saying is, a wasted vote is a vote for somebody that doesn't actually represent me. I will now tell you who I voted for in the last election. I supported Gary Johnson. I voted for him wholeheartedly and smiling. I was probably one of the few people who voted for a candidate that I knew was going to lose. But I was proud of it, and I was happy. Because I was showing that not only are there people who think very progressive on all things, there are people who vote very conservative on all things, and then there's people like me, who it really depends on the issue, which color I look like. And by just having that non-homogeneity, we end up with a better representation, even if your party doesn't win. Another interesting fact, I was born in Germany, but don't remember it because I was so young. Germany has 5 political parties. London, England, in their parliament that sits in London, has 6. Canada has 4. Brazil has 12. First world and second world countries that all have their own issues, just as complex as ours, somehow manage to have more than 2 parties get along and get things done. But then we look at what we have in Washington, and the 2 parties make it so that they get further and further apart, because there's no one there standing in the middle to tell them, hey guys, you're not that different. We're coming up on local election season. And very shortly thereafter, when we're voting for our House of Representatives. I want all of you that instead of just looking at, well, what party do they belong to and can they actually viably win, look at your candidate. Look at what they stand for. And say, are they going to vote how I would vote if I was there? And if the answer is yes, don't see that as wasting your vote. See that as showing whoever does win what you stood for and what you want them to do. Because it will still tell them that, whether or not your candidate wins. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really like that because it kind of mirrors a lot of things that I also think. I also, this election, voted for someone that I knew could not win, but for a slightly different reason. As you mentioned, in the end, we only have two parties. And part of the reason we only have two viable parties is because the government is set up that they will only support a political party that gets 5% of the vote. And so I voted for a third party simply because I knew Trump was going to win in Alabama, no matter which side I wanted to vote for. But I figured if I vote for the third party and they can get above that 5, then we'll maybe end a little bit of this weirdness. Maybe, maybe not. But I think they all should vote for their conscience, whether they are red or green or blue or purple or maybe even polka dots. Sure, why not? So, our next speaker for this evening is going to be another long-time member of Toastmasters. He also has been in Toastmasters, I believe, since the last century. Not quite. Not quite? Oh, okay. He's not quite as old as dirt. But I don't have a topic for him, but he is doing his first speech from Speaking to Inform. Julius Armstrong.
I have a question. Do you want to crush your day? If you want to crush your day, then it starts with winning your morning. This afternoon, I'm going to give you some information that's going to allow you to win your morning. I'm going to give you some information from Tim Ferriss's Tools of the Titans. This is what billionaires, world-class performers, and icons do to win their morning. The first thing you have to do is you have to start from the end. You have to ensure that you get 8 hours of sleep a night. Sleep is very beneficial to your brain and your body. And if you get enough sleep, you're going to be at your best. Now, I work in the inner city schools as a high school teacher. And the kids are real needy and they are real challenging. So in order for me to be of any service to them, it's important that I'm at my best. So what I've done is I started tracking my sleep for the last 8 months to ensure that I get 8 hours of sleep. And now that I do get 8 hours of sleep, it makes a tremendous difference to me being able to serve them. If you want to be of your best service to the people that you come in contact with, make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. The second thing that 80% of the 200 people that were interviewed in the book do, they all practice some form of mindfulness. That can be meditation. Meditation has been proven to ease depression, anxiety, insomnia. You can and ah, but that's just one thing you can do. You can practice yoga. You can do visualization. You can just sit and be still. Solitude helps you focus and be at your best. Another thing that they do is that they incorporate movement. And the movement can be a brisk walk. You can do some calisthenics. You can do anything that allows you to get some blood pumping into your body. Another thing that they do is that they ensure that they get a proper breakfast. You want to take some protein to help with your blood sugar. They mention eating avocado because of the healthy oils and fats and give you energy. And they talk about water, hydrating your body. The more water, you get your water to your body, it helps your brain, helps your body to function. All of these things that they do are simple things that we can do. And if you people, I heard Tony Robbins say, he said, because these things, all the things we're talking about, take less than about 10 minutes. He said, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life. So if you can't find a way to incorporate these rituals and practices that the top guys are doing, you're doing yourself a disservice. So what I want you to do, if you want to crush your day, is to incorporate as many of these activities and routines that you can. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, sir. Very interesting, very interesting. There's a lot of scientific research behind many of the things that he's talking about, and it's not just the billionaires that have decided to do these things, but actually a lot of research has gone into how to develop your day, how to develop your body to get the peak performance. So it's very interesting stuff, very interesting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come into the most exciting part of our meeting. We're going to have the opportunity now for spontaneous speaking. And our topic master for this evening is going to be Cody Broussard.
All right, so didn't come up with these ahead of time, so this is from a website, so I'm just going to start out with Heather. So Heather, describe the greatest adventure of your life.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honor guests. I can't really recall the greatest adventure of my entire life, not off the top of my head. We've moved around a lot, and so I've lived in different parts of the country, like I've lived in Louisiana and Virginia and Hawaii, so I guess that's part of an adventure, but I can't really think of one thing. If I'm trying to think of like something that's been really great that's happened, it was kind of like an adventure, I guess I'd think about, it sounds kind of childish, but I really enjoyed Disney World when I was in 7th grade, and it's been about, I guess it's been maybe 10 years or so, but I still remember it. I was just thinking earlier how I kind of feel like I've realized what I want to do with my life, or at least what I kind of want to focus on, because when you really think of what you're doing and the time that you have and how it's limited and how you're living, I decided that what I really want to focus on is having fun, and that's something that I really just remember so well from Disney World. Is that even though it was years ago, it was really fun. So as far as adventures go, that's kind of it, I guess. I try to go on adventures when I can. Like I'll go downtown by myself and just walk around and sketch and stuff. But I don't know. There's nothing really specific that I can recall right now. Mr. Chopper.
Thank you for that. Now I will call Maurice. And Maurice, for your question, do you consider yourself a hero or a villain in your own story?
All right, thank you.
Maurice?
Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, the question that was posed to me is, do I consider myself a hero or a villain in my own story? A billow. No, I don't, well, there are some situations where I consider myself a villain if I go back over my life experiences. And there might be a few rare instances where I consider myself to be a hero or something close to being a hero. But in that context, which Cody posed the question, it is interesting to go back over one's life experiences in their own mind to see or to weigh whether they were a hero in a situation or a villain in a situation. So that is an interesting question. And I guess I eschewed those instances where I was a villain. I do recall those instances, and you kind of beat yourself, well, I kind of beat myself up a little bit, but you can't do anything about it. You don't get a do-over. So that is my answer to whether I am a villain or a hero in my own eyes, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Reese. That was a tough one. So, appreciate that. So, Marlo, if you had to teach someone one thing, what would you teach?
Oh, that's a good one. That's right here. Okay. This is hard.
These weren't easy. Thank you.
Fellow Toastmasters, topic masters, and yes, if I were to teach someone something, I would teach someone how important it is to continue to smile. A smile goes 1,000 miles. A smile has the ability to make a person's day. A smile has the ability to open doors. A smile has the ability, a good smile that is, has the ability to eat carrots and candy and cookies and do wonderful things. On the other hand, if the person did not have a wonderful smile, they would owe all kinds of money to the dentist. They probably wouldn't have a very good job. They probably wouldn't have very good friends. They probably would have so many problems because people who do not smile usually are not very happy people. Usually they're probably pretty sad. So when I see someone and they have their smile upside down, the first thing I'd like to do is say smile. Even though it might hurt, smile. And that is what I teach someone if I were to teach someone something. Thank you.
Okay. How are we doing on time? Alright, sorry.
About another night.
Judge, do you want to?
Sure.
Okay. Alright. So, what are you looking forward to? What's something you're looking forward to?
Okay. Let me take a quick second to introduce myself. Hi, my name is Zoe Poncher. I just graduated from Tulane University in Maryland. And this is going directly into my speech because I'm looking forward to starting my adult life. It's a huge shift. No longer being able to call my dad, ask him quick questions about how should I sign up for this or what does HSA mean? And now I have real responsibilities, such as keeping track of my bills and I work as an engineer at Honeywell. So it's very important to make sure I don't blow anyone up. So I'm looking forward to starting a professional life and just no longer being a student, having to worry every second about studying and no sleeping and constantly fighting for refrigerator space. And I'm looking forward to becoming someone. When you're a student, you're constantly pulled in every which way, every different direction, having to do so much just to fulfill your resume and get your A's and keep some sort of social life so people don't think you're a horrible nerd. But now that I'm an adult and I have this focus, I can start really focusing on who I want to become and really put in and prioritize my time on skills I want to develop. And so I'm looking forward to see who I become in the next 3 or 4 years.
Zoe, thank you for that. It's tough to come in a new club and do a guest table talk, but it was really good. Great job. And as an engineer myself, I can relate to that. School's tough in engineering. It's good to be out. So. Okay, so that we do have a lot of engineers. So that concludes our table topics for tonight. I will now really just elect turn to the general evaluator, Ewing. Sorry, Mr. Yeah, I'm sorry.
How about the Toastmasters?
Sorry.
Toastmaster gets
Toastmaster gets this one.
Yes, it's an exciting thing. But the second part of our educational program, we have, as you may know, or as the new people may not know, the focus of Toastmasters is to leadership through communication. And so part of that is to develop our communication skills. So we do have our speaking and speech writing and so on. But one of the more important parts is to get an evaluation to find out how well we did in developing our speeches and so on. So this evening we are going to start our evaluation process with Ewing Wang.
Every time I'm like on meeting. Today, the meeting is so exciting that I'm a speaker. No matter the speaker will talk on their own table topic. Even our guests gave us very good speech. So I very enjoy this. So we invited first the evaluator, Cody, to evaluate
So tonight I'll be evaluating our new president's ninth speech. Why are you wasting your vote? So that's an interesting topic. You know, we had a big election recently, and some people, especially being in Alabama, probably thought that, okay, if I don't want to vote for red, then I'll probably waste my vote. So it's a relative topics. So I'm going to go over the kind of ratings and everything. Did the speaker project sincerity and conviction? I think so. Started out well. Tom's always was a good voice inflection. Was the speaker a credible source of information? I thought this was satisfactory. Maybe could have used a little more facts and numbers, but it's kind of it's a hard one to pin down real hard facts on. It's kind of be a little opinionated, I guess. The speaker phrased his or her appeal in terms of the audience self-interest. I thought so. Everybody in this room votes, so it's interest. It's a good topic, so that helps with the topic choice. Did the speech opening capture the audience attention? Yes. Came out strong, moved around a little bit off the lectern, which is good. Did the speaker use facts and logical reasoning? Yes. Mentioned some facts and kind of went back to the numbers because you can kind of take your opinion on something like this, but he did bring it back to some facts. Did the speaker properly use emotion to persuade the audience to support his or her views? Yes. Good voice inflection, kept it interesting. Was the speech organized effectively? I thought so. I mean, the whole point was to persuade, and you kept coming back to that. Maybe not a real clear, body conclusion, but you did a good conclusion, I thought. Did the speaker's body language and vocal variety contribute to the message? Excellent. I thought you did a lot better with your hand gestures, so you controlled them, and I think that's your biggest improvement that I've seen for the speech. I don't know if that's what you focused on, but I noticed it. Were you persuaded to accept speaker's views? Yes. It's a good reminder that every vote counts and you shouldn't not be able to vote just because you feel like you might not win. So what could the speaker have done better or differently to make the speech a little more effective? You started to move around a little bit, but then you came back to the podium. So I guess I would say if you're going to start, continue that kind of flow. I could have maybe did something. What did I like about speech? You stuck to the point and you kind of hammered the the point you're trying to get across, which is good on the persuasive speech. I like that, and the conclusion was well stated, and it left me thinking, okay, I need to vote, and next time a vote, my ability to vote comes up, then I should go to the polls. So overall, it's a good speech. Thank you, Tom. All right, I will now bring the slide up here and we'll cheat you. Thank you.
Secondly, evaluator.
Good evening again, everyone. I evaluated. I'm going to start again. We're officially starting again. Okay. The speech that I evaluated was Pressure Day by Winning Your Morning. This was a 5 to 7 minute speech. As evaluator, one of my goals was to listen to the speech and bring the understanding to the speech. The book asked, what made the speech interesting? The speaker's voice and his voice inflection kept the speech interesting, as well as his body language and gestures. It fit well with the speech, his hand movement, his yoga movements. How effectively did the speech opening capture and hold your attention? He stepped in front of the audience, he introduced the name of his book's Tools of Titans, and that was very dramatic, and it caught my attention. I stopped right in, I listened, held my head up. How comfortable and familiar did the speaker appear to be with his or her material? He knew the material well because he was able to walk around a little, make movements, and he didn't need any notes. How confident and in control did the speaker appear to be? The speaker was very controlled. He stood in front of the audience, he made facial gestures, he used a great deal of body language, so he appeared to know what he was talking about and appeared to seem comfortable. What was the organizational structure of the speech? He demonstrated logical order. He started out by telling us how we could start our day in a positive way, and he ended encouraging us to use 10 minutes of our day to help ourselves. How did the speaker encourage the audience to learn? He started out by introducing the book, and he showed a great deal of action. And once again, as I said before, he showed yoga and the calisthenics. How effectively did the speaker relate new information to the common experiences and knowledge of the audience? He made it very relevant by giving examples how he used techniques at work, and I thought that he did a great job doing it. What could the speaker have done more effectively? He could have extended his speech. It was a little bit under, so that was one. Also, I would have liked to have seen probably more visual aids, perhaps, letting us see how what you say work. Also, what would you say that was the speaker's strongest asset in the informative speaking? He demonstrated a strong speaking voice, and he appeared to believe in what he was saying. The information can be used again and again in another forum, in another place. Thank you very much.
Yes. For the Thomas report, the first speech from Thomas was 6 minutes and 20 seconds. The second speech from Julius was 3 minutes and 38 seconds. As far as table topics, Heather, 1 minute 52 seconds. My table topics was 1 minute 37 seconds. Marlo's table topics, 1 minute 19 seconds. And Zoe's was 1 minute 37 seconds. The evaluations, Cody was 3 minutes 2 seconds, and Marlo was 3 minutes 5 seconds. And that is the timer's report.
Thank you. And environment. Heather.
Everyone did pretty good as far as keeping track of filler words and trying to avoid them. Lawrence had 6 filler words, Julie's had a couple, I had 3, Ewing had 1, and Maurice and Thomas used the word of the day.
Good job.
So it's
The end of the evaluation section, give time to.
Okay, and that completes that part of the educational program. We now are at, we still have a few minutes, so I would like to take a couple of minutes and just give a little bit of information about what our club is supposed to be doing and why we have communication and leadership tracks as part of our educational program. So, now, as we mentioned before, Toastmasters is focused on leadership through communication. Now, one of the major portions of leadership, if you've ever been in a leadership position, is communication. And it doesn't matter what kind of leadership you're talking about. If you're talking about raising children, communication is a serious part of that relationship. If you're talking about working with someone else, even on a level plane, communication is key. If you're talking, of course, about being a leader of other people, communication is undeniably the most important part of leadership. So, we have an educational program that runs on 2 separate levels. We have a level that's on a leadership, and we have a level on communication. Okay, so the educational program is the heart of our Toastmasters Club. It provides members with a proven curriculum to develop communication and leadership skills, one step at a time. And then we also get awards for fulfilling the steps as we move along. And as much as some people think it's kind of hokey or, not really necessary to get awards, people somehow still feel some kind of a benefit when they're recognized, even if it's with a silly thing as a pin or something like that. But people still feel the value of awards. Now, as I mentioned, we have a communication track and we have a leadership track. The communication track is that starts with the Competent Communicator magazine or manual, where you have 10 speeches that basically go through and teach you about the 10 basic skills that you will use in almost every speech. How to project yourself, how to use body language, how to use vocal variety, and various other things that we need as good speakers, research, development of the speech, and so on. And then it continues on, and once you have completed the Competent Communicator, you move into other manuals. Now these manuals are more focused on different aspects of communication. It seems like our club is growing more and more on the engineering side. So there's like, for instance, technical presentations. and presentations with visual aids or various other things like that. So there's different steps that you can take, and that is going to help you to become a more competent communicator. But you also have a track that goes through leadership skills. Now, the leadership track is a little bit more difficult to track than your your communication track, but you do have many different steps that you can go through. And part of the leadership track is being able to lead yourself, and then also to lead other people. So in the leadership track, I lost the page. Okay, in the leadership track, members will complete different projects. Those who wish to get in the leadership track, they begin with competent leadership, which is included in your new member kit, as is also the competent communicator. But this is a track to help you to develop the club meeting roles and leadership roles that you will be able to use, not just in Toastmasters, but in any occupation that you're using. If you're an engineer, at some point in your career, you're going to have to give a presentation to someone about what you're trying to engineer and how it's going to be of benefit for them. And of course, educators are constantly trying to communicate what they need to do. And I'm using too many words, I'm sorry. But the leadership track, again, you get various awards as you move forward. The final portion of your leadership track is, and your communication track, is the Distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest award that you can receive in Toastmasters at the moment. And to get that, you have to complete an entire series of educational program, leadership program, and an entire series of your communication program. And once you do that, then you have to do some leadership project to prove that you have used those, and then communicate that leadership project. So to prove that you have developed the communication, and then you can be a distinguished Toastmasters. And I highly recommend that everybody try to work towards that end, and be aware that our whole track system is probably going to change next year. So if you want to get the distinguished Toastmaster, we got to get on the ball. Mr. Toastmaster. That's the end of our educational program, and at this point I would like to relinquish the lectern to our president, Mr. Thomas Esper.
There are currently no awards, but we're getting really close on several. People for competent communicator, either their first time through or second time through competent communicator. I will also attest to how important at least the communication track is. I'm also an engineer. I studied structural engineering up in North Carolina, and am very poor at interpersonal communications, as well as presentations when we started this. And now 6 months in, give or take a week, my presentation skills have gotten way better. Enough so that I successfully passed through meetings that people thought were great, that I wondered how they thought it was great. And probably when I move on from the Competent Communicator Manual, one of the manuals is interpersonal communication. That's probably where I'm going next, because I have a tendency to put my foot in my mouth in conversations. So my wife is very happy with this because we actually know. I don't offend her every night. That's what it's for. So after 9 years of marriage, she has finally stopped being offended on a daily basis by something I've said. So it's definitely something that I've thoroughly benefited from, even only after 6 months. I'll now turn the time over to Yu Ying Wang for our VP of Education to discuss next week's agenda.
One here first.
Okay, so yes, is there anyone who has signed up to be speaker next month, next week? I don't,
I'll do it.
okay, haven't had anything done yet, so you're gonna do it.
Number
Okay.
9, right?
8.
8.
And,
I'm not sure if I'm going to be here. I have a conference I'm preparing for, so I don't know if I'm going to be preparing or
I
not.
have to do here. I could do a speech next week. I haven't done a speech, and I haven't done a planned speech in quite a while.
Yeah, a couple months.
So, although so I will do number 8, get comfortable with visual aids, and that will be the last of my second competent communicator.
Yeah. See, I told you we were close to words.
Yeah.
I know I don't want to be
Toastmaster?
here next week.
Toastmaster.
Yeah. Well, I'm scheduled to be absent next week.
As well. So that's
Well, so anybody else going to be still here? You're going to be here next week? You're not going to be here next week? You're not going to be here next? Are you going to be here next week? Maybe.
Okay, so Cody's gonna be here, so we can have a meeting. Because we have to have an officer to have a meeting.
Yeah, I'll
So
be
we're
here.
covered with 2 officers, but we can have a meeting as long as we can actually have enough people to actually fill out on all the roles.
Okay.
I promised any of the guests, if they're planning on coming back next week and signing up at some point, we will back work whatever you've done to the point that you have signed up if you volunteer.
The problem is when I'm a new engineer, if they need any additional work, they just throw it at me.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I was there.
Yeah,
Ray was
so
there. Grace was there.
if I can make it, I will make it. So,
And a couple of things, since myself and Thomas will be absent, someone needs to print out the agendas and the word of the day. And also,
I do all that.
okay, I mean, actually print it out.
I usually do that. That's what someone else needs to.
Right. And also, I recommend that someone be here about 20 to 30 minutes early, because you'll never know how this room is arranged like it was today.
I'm sorry, I was let time get by, but I got here in time, I could have done something. But I'll get here earlier next week. 20 minutes, you say, huh?
At least 20 to 30 minutes, because,
Aye.
well, specifically tonight, this table was to the right. That table there was blocking the storage area.
Yeah.
And then you had chairs, a circle of chairs right here, and
Okay.
Okay, so I anticipate an email asking you to volunteer for something later this week. I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
That, meeting's agenda.